if you're a real estate agent in 2026, you are sitting on a gold mine and you don't even know it. Now, you may be asking, what is this gold mine? And the gold mine is your entire database, entire database of past clients, past referrals, and even so-called old leads. All of these leads, they're in your database for a reason, right? They already know you, they already like you, they already trust you, and they've probably already had some situations where you followed up with them and you've already started to build that trust. But then why are you not calling them? Because some of them might be like, oh yeah, I'm a year out, I'm 2 years out, 3 years out. And then you just deem them as like an old lead or they're a bad lead and they're not worth the follow-up. But it's simply not the case. And there's statistics to back this up. So 88% of people who have finished working with an agent would say that they would use the agent again. Now, this makes sense because as a real estate agent, you're helping a buyer or seller through a very emotional process. You know, you're walking them through it and hopefully you're making it as smooth as possible for them and as stress-free as it possibly can be. And naturally from that, they've got a lot of positive emotions towards you around that because you've helped them through it, right? So it's natural for them all to be like, oh yeah, I'd go with my agent again. However, as you can see with this number here, only around 21% of them actually do. Now, the reason for that isn't that the person's just decided that they somehow just hate the agent or they've got cold feet. It's because the agent isn't following up with them. They're not reminding them of, you know, the stress-free process that they took them through last time. They're not following up with them. They're not reminding them that they exist. And because of that, they just decide to go with someone else who is closer to them or just, you know, there at the right time when they are actually looking. So, you know, you chase strangers and you ignore the people who already trust you. So the people who already trust you all in your database, you end up ignoring them and instead you're chasing strangers, people who have just come through from like a website or have come through the brokerage, and you're putting the top priority on the new leads when in reality you've got these, you know, the golden gems in the database that you're not nurturing because they said that they're 6 to 12 months out, when in reality, yes, that may be the case, and it's going to be natural with real estate where the sales cycle is so long as opposed to anything else. But you can't fight it, right? It's the market, it's the business that you're in. You just need to be constantly nurturing these people and reminding them that you exist in the first place. And 66% of sellers pick an agent that they were referred to or they've already worked with. And that's a massive statistic because, you know, let's say you get a fresh lead that comes through from like online lead gen or even from the brokerage. You've got the tiniest chance of winning that person as opposed to if they were just to be referred to you. However, with this, a lot of agents, although the seller would pick the person that they're referred to, the person that they're referred to isn't on top of it with following up with this person because they think that the referrals and the database are just going to naturally come to them. And they just be like, oh, I don't need to work my database. Everyone's like 100% loyal to me. They're always just going to come to me anyway. I don't need to do any extra work. And because of that, they end up losing deals because people who would go with them in this case end up not going with them because they just haven't been nurturing them. They haven't reminding them that they exist, right? And your gold mine, obviously, as we know, they've got 3 seams. So you've got your past clients, you've got the dead and the old leads, and you've also got your sphere of influence, okay? So the past clients, obviously, they've bought with you, they've sold with you. They're probably the highest priority, but as considering that they are a past client, depending on how new they were, if you sold them a house a year ago, they're probably not going to be looking until maybe 5-6 years. That does not mean that you shouldn't be following up with them. You should still be reminding them that you exist. The dead and the old leads, they're the ones that didn't move yet. They're not dead, they're just early. So maybe they're looking in the next like 1 to 2 years. And then obviously you've got your sphere of influence, your family, friends, and past colleagues. And these are the ones that get missed the most because people just think that they're just going to naturally come to you. And people have this really stupid idea that these leads are just loyal to you no matter what. And this often isn't the case, and that's why they need to be followed up with. Now, the math that should sting, because a new lead, it costs you money because you got to pay for it, whether it's from the brokerage or whether it's from online lead gen. And an old one just costs you a message, which is a free, right? So, if you got a CRM, you've got like maybe Follow Up Boss, or like different like CRMs often offer like nurturing sequences that you can just put someone in. It takes 20 seconds to put them in a nurture sequence. It'll send them messages, it'll send them emails. You don't have to do anything apart from just building the system, and a lot of these CRMs already have it in place for you to do. But yeah, obviously acquiring a new lead, you've got to spend ads, you've got to do weeks of nurture, and with ones who already know you, just one simple message reminding them that they exist. And let's say you send it to 100 people, maybe one or two of them will actually be ready, and you wouldn't have known that unless you sent the message. Now, this is a real world example. I found this really interesting, where Ryan Serhant, I'm not sure if you know him, he's a top real estate agent in New York. So one lead he met in Starbucks. Okay, so he was 6 months into the business. He met them in Starbucks on Madison, and they looked at a few places, and then the lead suddenly vanished. Okay, so this was in 2009, and for every 2 weeks he followed up with them. So he sent them listings, emails, and for 8 years straight, he sent them just follow-ups every single 2 weeks, sent them follow-up to stay on top of them. And he says, obviously, email is free. I'm sure you know email is free as well, but this is something that a lot of agents aren't doing. And remember, so he met them in 2009, and in 2017, the husband finally writes back, and it turns out that they were divorced, and he's very busy, but he's ready. And he ended up selling him a 16 million apartment in Soho. And then since then also sold a 40 million Hampton house. And then he also sold the ex-wife another 16 million. So in total, just from that, you're looking at about 72 million in sale value from just following up and just staying on top of them. Now, I do hear this a lot because I speak with a lot of agents, and a lot of them say, I don't want to be pushy. I don't want to be following up with people because they won't want to speak with me if I just continue following up with them. They'll think I'm needy. They think I'm this. They think I'm that. And a lot of agents have these negative beliefs around follow-up and nurture, but it's because they don't know how to do it properly. So yes, if you are messaging them saying, are we ready to buy, when in reality they're actually a year out, and you're trying to push them into the decision, yes, they're not going to like that. Yes, they're going to get cold feet, and yes, they're not going to go with you. But my rule of thumb, and this is what I say to all of the agents that I work with, that you need to lead with value, okay? So you don't just send them like a quick message saying, are you ready to buy yet? Can I have a quick update on when you're looking to move? You lead with value. So you lead with listings, you lead with data, you lead with something that can help them, whether they're a seller, lead with a way that they can increase the value of the property, or the way that they can get their property listing ready. Lead with as much value as possible. And then, when they do come to buy, when they do come to sell, they're going to think of all of the value that you gave them and be like, oh yeah, John was a really good real estate agent. He gave me a lot of value, and because of that, I'm going to decide to buy with him. I'm going to decide to sell with him. So, and this is what Ryan said as well, that everyone says that they follow up, but then he doesn't think they do, because this is what he classes as follow up. This is his standard. And bearing in mind, he was only 6 months into the business. So, even when he started, he had it nailed down. And this is why he's been so successful, is because, and he says this a lot, he just follows up until they die or tell him to F off, right? Now, the myth is that people think that the job ends at closing, but it doesn't. Closing isn't the finish line, it's the start of every future deal that clients send you. Because not only does a client have a chance to come back to you, they also have a chance to refer you to even more people. So you want to remind them that you exist at any chance possible, not being needy, but with, once again, leading with value, okay? And you didn't lose the relationship, you just stopped showing up for it. You just stopped messaging, and because of that, they forgot you existed. So you might be asking, how do I do this? And what's the best way of doing this? And we kind of touched on a little bit the side of like CRMs and how to actually nurture the leads. But obviously in terms of reactivating a database, right, you want to export the list first of all, and you want to segment them into past clients, old leads, and even sphere of influence if you've got a lot of leads like that. Because you don't want to be sending past clients messages that you're sending old leads, because it just wouldn't make sense and it won't be as congruent, right? Whether you want to do it manually, I suggest you do, because it's probably the most valuable thing that you can do in your day is manually messaging them and actually sending stuff that is relevant to, the conversation that you've had with them in the past. And obviously, if you've got data on what properties you sold them, then you can also refer that in the messages so it's as personal as possible. It's going to get the best results. But yeah, you want to segment it to ready now and just segment it by intent, okay? Don't treat them all the same. And once again, lead with value, reach out with something useful, and stay consistent. Really important that you stay consistent, because if you're not consistent, then you're not going to get results, okay? And this is interesting, because this is the caveat to this, because yes, it's good, and yes, you can make sure that you're on the 88% rather than the 21% back to this, but in reality, your database is only going to go so far, okay? So you've got your sphere of influence, you've got all your database and your leads in there, but at some point they're going to run out, and if you're not actively filling them up, then you're not going to be growing, you're not going to be expanding, you're not going to be building a pipeline for the future. So on its own, yeah, you can reactivate the list once, you can get a spike, you can get quick, short results, but unless you have a system behind it and like a predictable way to fill the pipeline every month to keep the database refilling, then it's not going to compound, and you're just going to be dead in the water once you've gone through your database. So you need to have a way to fill the database, and there's multiple ways of doing this, whether you want to do like ads, whether you want to do like get leads from the brokerage, whether you have like another way of getting leads, whether that's like mailers or like door knocking. I probably wouldn't suggest door knocking unless you're really good at it, because it can be very time intensive, and for the results that you actually get, or maybe even open houses, but then once again, that is very time intensive, and a lot of times, sometimes you just stand there and you won't get any leads come through. So it's good to maybe get some leads and obviously deliver the results for your clients and get the property sold, but in terms of generating leads, it's not the most predictable way of doing this, okay? But yeah, if you were to walk away from this video with just one thing, I want you to take this: the best leads you'll ever get is the ones that you've already earned, okay? So the best leads you'll ever get are the ones that you've already earned, and if you're not nurturing your database, you're simply leaving money on the table, and you're not going to be able to grow, and you're not going to be able to flourish as a real estate agent. These agents who are in it for 10, 15, 20 years, who just get business from repeat referral, is because all this time they've been nurturing the leads, they've been following up with them, and they've actually been filling up the database, as we mentioned to here, right? They've been filling up the database with a system to predictably get new leads in, so they've always got leads to follow up with, and they never don't have something to do,